You've noticed your dog doing something a little odd. Maybe they follow you into the bathroom, steal a sock and carry it to their bed, or just sit there staring at you with their head tilted to one side. And you've probably thought, that's just my dog being weird. Here's what's actually happening. Those little quirks aren't random, and they're not misbehavior. They're a sophisticated communication system your dog has been running this whole time, one rooted in biology, trust, and a surprisingly deep read of your emotional state. Most of us grow up believing our dog acts out of habit or instinct we can't really interpret. But research into canine behavior tells a different story. One where your dog is actively monitoring your stress, guarding your blind spots, and sending you signals that are remarkably specific once you know what to look for. By the end of this video, you'll be able to decode 8 of the most common things dogs do, understand exactly what your dog is trying to tell you in each moment, and respond in a way that genuinely deepens the trust between you. No training required, just a new way of seeing a dog you already love. Welcome to Payfect Living _, where we discuss everything about dogs. Let's now dive in. Let's start with something that happens in almost every home, usually on the couch at the end of a long day. You kick off your shoes, put your feet up, and within about 30 seconds, your dog is there, nose down, tongue out, methodically licking your feet. And your instinct, like most people's, is probably to laugh, pull your feet away, or just let it happen while you scroll your phone. It seems affectionate, maybe a little gross, and mostly harmless. What most owners don't realize is that in that moment, their dog isn't just being affectionate. They're running a biological scan. Dogs possess a structure in their nasal cavity called the Jacobson's organ, or the vomeronasal organ, and it allows them to essentially taste chemical information in the air and on surfaces. Your feet, particularly after a full day, carry a concentrated cocktail of hormones and scent markers that are almost like a readout of your physiological state. Cortisol, the stress hormone, changes the chemical composition of your sweat. So does anxiety. So does the early onset of certain illnesses. Your dog, when they lick your feet, isn't just seeking closeness, they're reading that data. They're building a picture of how you actually are, not how you seem. What most owners do with this behavior is either discourage it, that's gross, or simply ignore it as one of those inexplicable dog things. Both responses are completely understandable, but they miss what the behavior is trying to tell you. A dog that suddenly increases this kind of licking, who was never particularly interested before and now won't leave your feet alone in the evenings, is often responding to a change in your stress levels that you might not have consciously acknowledged yourself. They noticed before you did. The reframe here is a gentle one. Instead of seeing foot licking as a quirk to manage, consider it a kind of check-in. Next time it happens, rather than redirecting immediately, take a breath and honestly ask yourself, how am I actually doing today? Because your dog already knows the answer. They're not trying to bother you. They're trying to soothe you. In the wild, social grooming is a calming behavior shared between members of a pack. When your dog licks your feet, they're extending that same gesture to you. They have assessed that you need it. That's not weird. That's devotion with a biological basis. And what comes next is something almost every dog owner has experienced, but very few have thought to question. Because on the surface, it looks like your dog simply has no concept of personal space. Most of us have a story about this. You get up from the sofa, walk down the hallway, close the bathroom door behind you, and within 10 seconds, you hear it. The scratch, the whine, the little paw appearing under the door gap. Or maybe your dog has learned that scratching gets them nowhere, so instead they just sit directly outside and wait with an almost theatrical patience that would be impressive if it weren't slightly unnerving. You probably thought, my dog is just clingy, or my dog has separation anxiety, or if you've ever had a particularly pointed moment, my dog has absolutely no boundaries. Here is what is actually happening. Dogs are descended from animals that lived in social groups where survival depended on collective vigilance. In a pack, moments of physical vulnerability, rest, sleep, Being in a confined or enclosed space were moments when protection from other group members mattered most. Your bathroom, from your dog's perspective, is a small enclosed room with no windows, limited exits, and no visibility. You have, from their point of view, placed yourself in a genuinely vulnerable position and closed the door on the one member of your household who is ready to stand guard. What most owners do is feel vaguely guilty or laugh it off or spend years trying to train the behavior away with mixed results. The training approach isn't wrong if the behavior is genuinely disruptive, but the framing usually is. We treat it as neediness, as a boundary issue, as something our dog does because they are too attached. That framing tends to create a low-grade frustration with the behavior that the dog picks up on, which can actually increase the anxiety underneath it. The reframe is this: your dog following you into the bathroom is not a sign that something is wrong with them. It is a sign that something is very right with you. They consider you worth protecting. They have assigned themselves a role in your safety, and they are taking it seriously. You don't have to let them in every time. Practical life requires some boundaries, but the next time it happens, instead of sighing, try acknowledging them through the door. A calm, "I'm okay, I've got it," in a settled voice does more than you'd think. You're not just talking to yourself. You're communicating directly to an animal that is listening for exactly that kind of reassurance. Now, speaking of listening, let's talk about the head tilt. Because if there is one dog behavior that the internet has decided is simply cute and nothing more, it's this one. And the cuteness is real. But there is something genuinely fascinating happening underneath it. You've seen it happen. Or you're talking to your dog, or maybe just talking near them, and mid-sentence, their head swings slowly to one side. Sometimes it swings back and goes to the other side. Their ears shift. Their eyes lock onto yours with a focus that feels almost unsettling in its intensity. It's adorable, yes. But watch it carefully and you'll notice it isn't random. It tends to happen with specific words, specific tones, or specific questions. That's not a coincidence. Dogs process auditory information differently depending on which side of the brain is doing the work. Research into canine lateralization, the same concept that gives humans a dominant hand, suggests that dogs tend to process emotional tone and familiar sounds through the right hemisphere and specific vocabulary, commands, and novel words through the left. The head tilt, which shifts the physical position of the ear pani, the outer ear, is your dog actively repositioning their auditory system to better capture what you're saying. The left tilt helps with emotional content. The right tilt helps with words and commands. They are, in the most literal sense, turning their best ear toward you. Most owners see this and simply enjoy it, which is fine. But the missed opportunity is in what it tells us about how dogs are listening. When your dog tilts their head, they are working. They are processing. They are trying, genuinely, to close the communication gap between two species that have been trying to understand each other for thousands of years. The head tilt is not passive, it is effort. The reframe here changes how you might speak to your dog. Consistency of tone matters more than most owners realize. The "if walkies" is always delivered with the same bright energy, your dog will catalog that. If "no" varies wildly depending on your mood, sometimes firm, sometimes exasperated, sometimes quiet, your dog has to work harder to decode it every time. The head tilt is a window into how actively your dog is trying to understand you. Meeting that effort with consistency is the simplest and most effective thing you can do in return. And here's what that consistency leads to, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, let's talk about a sound so ordinary that most owners have stopped hearing it altogether. If this is already making you think differently about the way your dog communicates, tap subscribe. Every week at Pawfect Living, we go exactly this deep. There's always something worth coming back for. The deep sigh. You know this one. You've been at work all day. You come home. Your dog greets you. And then, maybe 10 minutes later, after the initial excitement is settled and they've curled up near you, you hear it. This long, slow, almost theatrical exhale, like the world's most contented punctuation mark. You probably thought, my dog is just relaxed, or maybe my dog is bored. Or if you caught them watching you with slightly mournful eyes before the sigh, my dog is being dramatic. There is some truth in all of those readings, but the full picture is more interesting. A sigh in dogs is a genuine physiological event. It marks a shift in autonomic state, a transition from higher alert to lower alert, from active to settled. When your dog sighs upon your return home, what they are releasing is not just air. They are releasing the accumulated tension of your absence. The house, without you, is a lower safety environment for your dog. Not dangerous, not distressing necessarily, but incomplete. Your return changes their internal state in a measurable way. The sigh is the body catching up with that shift. Posture gives you the secondary layer of information here. A dog that sighs and then fully lies down, chin on paws, eyes softening. That's peace. That's a dog that has received what they needed and is now genuinely at rest. A dog that sighs while sitting upright, still watching the room, still tracking movement, that's a more alert readiness. They've noted your return. They haven't fully stood down yet. Both are normal. But if you notice that your dog consistently sighs while sitting up, or is still scanning the room even after you've been home a while, that can be worth paying attention to as a broader indicator of their baseline anxiety level. What most owners do with the sigh is nothing, which isn't wrong. But the application shift here is simple and surprisingly powerful. When you hear that sigh, especially the settling lying down version, match it. Take your own slow breath. Let your shoulders drop. Your dog is modeling regulation for you in that moment, and if you meet them there, you are reinforcing a shared calm state that genuinely benefits both of you. There's real research behind the idea of bidirectional emotional regulation between dogs and their owners. Your dog's calm can anchor yours, and yours can anchor theirs. The sigh is an invitation. You can accept it. Which brings us to the sock thief, and I want to be clear that this is one of the most consistently misread behaviors in the entire owner-dog relationship. You leave for work, or you step out for an hour, and when you come back, something is missing. A sock, usually, or a shoe, or a piece of clothing you'd left on the floor. You find it in your dog's bed, or in the corner they've claimed as their own, slightly damp and very much not where you left it. Your first response is probably some version of mild irritation. They know they're not supposed to, or maybe amusement. They just love chaos. If the item is something valuable, probably frustration. This is one of the behaviors most likely to be labeled as naughtiness, and it is almost never that. Your scent to your dog is not just familiar. It is regulating. The concentration of scent markers in worn clothing, particularly items that have been in contact with skin for extended periods, like socks or worn t-shirts, represents to your dog's olfactory system a vivid and immediate sense of your presence. When you leave, that presence is gone from the environment. The house still smells like you, broadly, but the intensity fades. Your dog, particularly one who experiences any degree of separation discomfort, will seek out the highest concentration of your scent available to them and bring it into their safe space. They are not stealing. They are self-soothing, using the only tool they have. The mistake most owners make is either punishing the behavior after the fact, which doesn't work. It's because your dog has no way to connect the correction with the earlier action, or simply removing temptation without understanding why it was tempting. Neither addresses the underlying thing. A dog that is doing this regularly and with escalating intensity is a dog telling you, in the clearest way they know how, that being apart from you is hard. The reframe is a compassionate one. Rather than viewing the sock thief as a dog who's misbehaving, view them as a dog who has developed an ingenious coping mechanism, and give them a better version of it. A worn piece of your clothing, left intentionally in their bed before you leave, does exactly what the stolen sock was doing, but without the damage and without the anxiety of accessing it covertly. You're not rewarding bad behavior, you're solving the actual problem. Because your scent as a comfort object is not a crutch, It is a biologically grounded soothing mechanism that you can actively use in your dog's favor. Now, if the sock thief is your dog telling you they trust your scent, the next behavior is your dog telling you something even more fundamental. And it happens most often when you think they're simply ignoring you. You're sitting on the sofa, maybe watching something, and your dog hops up next to you, which is lovely. But instead of curling toward you, they turn completely around and present you with their back. Tail end toward your face, spine facing you, looking out at the room. And you might think, rude. Or, they don't want to be near me right now. Or you might reach out to pet them and they shift, maintaining the same orientation, back toward you, gaze forward. Some owners find this vaguely insulting. Most assume it's just a comfort preference, like how some people sleep facing the wall. It is not a comfort preference. It is one of the most significant things your dog can communicate. In the natural world, exposing your back, your blind spot, the area you cannot monitor, is a vulnerability. Predators approach from behind. Threats you cannot see are the most dangerous kind. An animal that turns its back on another animal is making a statement about trust that is, in evolutionary terms, profound. Your dog is not ignoring you when they turn their back to you. They are telling you that they feel so safe in your presence that they are willing to place their most vulnerable aspect in your direction, knowing, trusting, that you will watch out for them. Most owners miss this entirely. And they see the back, interpret it as disinterest, maybe feel a small pang of rejection, and carry on. Some owners push past the dog to try to get face-to-face contact, which to the dog is actually a mild disruption of the communication they were offering. The behavior looks like distance. It is the opposite. The correct response, and this is one of the most quietly powerful things you can do in your relationship with your dog, is to gently place a hand on them. Not to redirect them, not to reposition them. Just a quiet, still hand on their back or flank. In that gesture, you are saying, in their language, I receive this. I accept the responsibility. I have your blind side. That exchange, which takes about 3 seconds and requires nothing from you, deepens the trust bond in a way that 10 minutes of enthusiastic play might not. It is a very small thing with a disproportionately large meaning. From trust, we move to territory, though not in the way you might expect. Because the next behavior has almost nothing to do with dominance and almost everything to do with love. The doorway napper. You know this dog. They're not in their bed, not in the corner, not stretched out in a comfortable patch of sunlight. They're in the doorframe, right in the middle of the hall, directly in the highest traffic part of the house. You have stepped over them 17 times today. You have said their name and they have raised one eyebrow at you and put their head back down. They are, on the surface, simply in the way. Here is what they are actually doing. Thresholds, doorways, hallways, the top of stairs are the connective tissue of your home. They are the transition points through which all household activity must pass. A dog that positions themselves at these thresholds is not being lazy in an inconvenient location. They are selecting a monitoring post from which they can track every movement in the house without having to choose between rooms. They hear you in the kitchen. They can see the front door. They're positioned to know the moment any routine changes. This is strategic. This is, in its own way, attentive care. The application failure here is treating this as obstruction, nudging the dog aside, redirecting them to their designated bed, feeling mildly frustrated that the dog won't simply sleep where they're supposed to. The designated bed, for all its comfort, is in one room. The doorframe is everywhere. From a canine logistics standpoint, there is no contest. The reframe is simply this. Your dog is not choosing inconvenience. They are choosing connection. They are placing themselves where they can remain part of everything that involves you without demanding anything from you. It is a form of quiet companionship. When you step over your dog in the doorway, you might just take a half second to acknowledge them. A glance, a word, a brief hand, and what you're doing is confirming that you know they're there, that you see them doing their job. That matters to them more than you might think. And then you come home, and everything that has been building across all of these behaviors The monitoring, the vigilance, the quiet steadiness of a dog who has been holding down the fort in your absence, it all releases at once. The welcome stretch. You open the door, Nice, and your dog comes toward you. But instead of jumping, instead of spinning, they stop a pace or two away and drop into what looks like a yoga pose. Front legs extended, chest low, hips and tail high in the air, tail moving. This is the play bow. And while most owners have seen it in the context of play, the version that happens the moment you walk through the door carries a specific meaning that goes beyond an invitation to chase them around the garden. The play bow at greeting is a social bid. It is your dog opening their arms in the most literal physical way available to them and saying, "You are here, and I want to meet this moment with you." It is a formal gesture of joy, and it has a specific architecture. Paws out signals openness, tail up signals emotional elevation. The eye contact that comes with it, that bright, expectant look, is an active request for your engagement. For your dog, your arrival's not just nice, it is the highlight of their day. Everything they have done between your departures has been punctuated by the anticipation of this moment. The play bow is how they mark it. What most owners do, and this isn't a criticism, it's just the reality of busy lives, is move through the greeting quickly. You acknowledge your dog, you might give them a pat, and then you're setting down your bag, checking your phone, starting dinner. The greeting gets absorbed into the logistics of arriving home. Your dog, meanwhile, has just extended their most expressive social invitation, and it's met with 30 seconds of distracted affection before the moment passes. The reframe is remarkably simple. Before you do anything else, before the bag, the shoes, the phone, give your dog 30 seconds. Get down to their level if you can. Let the greeting be a full moment, not a sidebar. This isn't about spoiling your dog or creating expectations you can't maintain. It's about honoring a communication that is entirely genuine from an animal who has been waiting to deliver it since the moment you left. 30 seconds of real presence is worth 20 minutes of nearby but distracted time. In terms of what your dog actually receives from it, the play bow is asking for a response. Giving one costs almost nothing and means everything. Here's the broader truth that runs through all 8 of these behaviors, and it's worth sitting with for a moment before we close. Dogs have been living alongside humans for somewhere between 15 and 40,000 years, depending on whose research you follow. That is an extraordinary length of time, long enough for a profound mutual shaping to have occurred, not just behaviorally, but biologically. Dogs are the only non-human animal that consistently follows the human gaze. They are the only non-primate that seeks out eye contact with humans as a bonding behavior. They have evolved specific facial musculature, muscles that wolves do not have, that allows them to make expressions that humans find legible and emotionally resonant. None of that happened by accident. Your dog is not trying to be cute. They are not performing for treats or operating purely on reflex. They are an animal that has spent millennia learning to communicate with you, specifically with humans, and they are very, very good at it. The gap has never been on their side. They have been sending signals the whole time. The gap is in our ability to read them. What changes when you close that gap, even partially, even just with a few of the behaviors we've talked about today, is not dramatic. It's not a transformation. It's quieter than that. It's the moment you recognize the sigh and breathe with your dog instead of past them. It's the hand placed on the back of a dog who trusted you with their blind spot. It's the 30 seconds at the door that your dog has been waiting all day to give you. Small adjustments made with understanding instead of habit that compound over time into a relationship that is genuinely different, not because you trained your dog into something new, but because you finally started reading what was always there. Your dog has been trying to tell you something this whole time. Now you know how to listen. You came into this video thinking your dog was just being a little odd, maybe a bit clingy, a little dramatic, occasionally inconvenient. What you're leaving with is something quite different. The understanding that your dog has been communicating with you specifically and consistently this entire time. The foot licking, the sighs, the sock thefts, the back turned toward you on the sofa. None of it was random. All of it was directed at you. That's not a small thing. The dog you go home to tonight is the same dog you left this morning, but the way you see them doesn't have to be. So here's the one thing I'd invite you to try today. When you walk through your door and your dog comes to greet you, whatever that greeting looks like for them, stop for 30 seconds before you do anything else. Put the bag down, leave the phone, just be there, fully, for that moment. Notice what your dog does with it. You might be surprised by what you've been walking past. If this kind of thing is what you're looking for, the real story behind why your dog does what they do, then come and join us here at Pawfect Living. We go this deep every week because your dog deserves an owner who understands them, and you deserve to feel that connection clearly. We'll see you in the next one.